Hello, this is Tip Top Gaming here today with another Magic the Gathering video. Now today I'm going to do another one of my top 10 price list videos, but instead of just looking at one set or one product that's been released, I am going to be looking at Standard as a whole. So any card that's in Standard, I am going to be ranking them in top 10 fashion. Now, one thing I want to go over. Cards like these dominate the top 10 list. Those are the alternates from Throne of Eldraine and like the Japanese Planeswalkers. So those cards will be in their own separate list probably next week, where I'll go over this list including them. But this list is not going to include any of the alternate arts, just because that doesn't really give you a fair shot. Fabled Passage might be higher on the price list when it's in its foil form, or its fancy form that you can see right there, but that doesn't mean that the card itself is better, or, you know, more, like, cards that didn't have the chance to get that treatment are hindered by this. So in the future, we might be able to make this one list once every set has this kind of thing, but since Throne of Eldraine is the only one that has that, it kind of dominates the list. So why don't we jump right into it? As you can see, there's Liliana right there, and no, she's right there. Number 10 on the list is Liliana, Hydroid General. It's a 6-cost, 6 loyalty legendary planeswalker Liliana, and whenever a creature you control dies, draw a card. You can +1 to create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. You can -4 to make each player, including yourself, sacrifice 2 creatures, and you can -9 to make each opponent choose a permanent of each type, and then sacrifice the rest. So that includes their lands, and that's why that is so deadly. This card used to be one of the most powerful cards in Standard. It saw play in lots of Esper decks, and of course, as cards get older, this was all the way back in War of the Spark, they start diminishing in value. So this is to be expected that she's only down at number 10, but she still holds a value of about $14.42. That's not bad, especially for a card that was printed way back in War of the Spark. Next, we have a new card, a Leila, Artful Provocateur. It's a 4-cost Mythic 2/3 Flying Death Touch Lifelink, and other creatures you control flying get +1/+0, and whenever you cast an artifact or enchantment spell, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature flying token. So the Mythic rarity on this really doesn't mean that much, other than the fact, I mean, it doesn't mean much because it's the commander of the Brawl product. You buy that product, you're always going to get one. And in products like Collector Boosters, it's no more likely that you get a Mythic than it is you get a Common. So this extends a high price tag, as it is probably being sought after by both Brawl players and Commander players as a very interesting commander. There's not much else to it. Esper is a very powerful color combo. It doesn't have green in there, so that does limit it for Commander. But of course, this card would work really well as a Commander. Oh, and by the way, Throne of Eldraine cards are going to be kind of inflated because it's the most recent set. So expect these, like, just because a card is worth more doesn't mean it's more powerful. It's just more recent. Next, we have Chandra, Awakened Inferno. It's a 6-cost, 6 loyalty planeswalker, and it says this spell cannot be countered. That is part of the reason why this card is crazy. When this card first came out, it was in a very control-heavy meta in terms of counter spells, although that was kind of dying down due to Little Teferi, which we'll see later on this list. But that was very powerful, and then she can +2 and put an emblem on each person, on each opponent that deals the damage to them at their upkeep. And then you can -3 to do basically a little mini board wipe to all non-elemental creatures, and then you can -X to just deal X damage to target permanent, and then if that permanent dies this turn, exile it. So she's a very powerful planeswalker. It was one of the first cards released for Core Set 2020, and it really hyped up the set. People were worried about this card as well, though, because, well, it's very powerful. The ability to not be able to interact with it. So if your opponent plays this right, they can play it, and since it can't be countered, it enters the battlefield, and you can't stop the emblem unless you can counterspell the ability, then kill Chandra. So you're pretty much, this says pay 6, you know, this can't be countered at the beginning of each upkeep for the rest of the game. You know, blah, 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 blah. They take 2 damage because there's no way to get rid of emblems, so that's kind of crazy. So this card was crazy. And you'll notice, War of the Spark, then Chandra, they both had 6-cost planeswalkers that dominated in terms of price. Garruk is supposed to be a 6-cost planeswalker for Throne of Eldraine, but he's not doing so hot. I mean, he's a very powerful planeswalker, but he's just not seeing a home. Next, we have Little Teferi, or 3-cost Teferi, and he fits in a lot of white-blue decks, or just decks running white-blue. He's a 3-cost 4 loyalty, and each opponent can only cast spells at any time they could cast a sorcery. So this shuts down things like Simic Flash, it shuts down counter spells, it shuts down a ton of stuff. His +1 lets you cast sorceries at instant speed, including things like board wipes, which is very awesome. And his -3 allows you to return a target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand and draw a card. So this can be used on your opponent's stuff. It can be used on yours. I've used it many times to bounce an Oath of Kaya back to my hand so I can play it again and deal 3 more damage. So this has a lot of application, plus you get to draw cards. So, and the fact by the way, he can come in and do that -3 right away. This basically is a 3-cost bounce something, draw a card spell that also does other things. So that's really powerful, and why he commands such a high price tag at being rare and all the way back in War of the Spark. Next we have Breeding Pool. This is the most expensive of the lands, as green-blue is running rampant with Simic Flash, with Oko shenanigans, with Bant, all that is running rampant, and so it makes sense that this land is the most expensive. There's not much to talk about, it's a land. Next we have Kenra the Return Key. Now this one is kind of iffy. It almost didn't make a spot on the list. I almost made this a top 11 and just added another card because of him. The reason he's so expensive is because this is his non-foil version, which is only found in the collector booster and inside that the collector's edition. So the foil version of him is actually worth less than the non-foil, even though they have the same function. It's just because there are more foil versions than not. So that's why this has such a high price tag, because it's only found in that collector booster. Oh, that also includes Leila. She also, the non-foil version, those are only found in collector boosters. So that's part of the high cost for both those cards. Next, we have Questing Beast at $19.16. I know I haven't been saying the price, but you guys can see the price. I put it really big. This is a new Threnville Drain card that, when it was spoiled, did things similar to Chandra. People were going, oh my god, it has Vigilance, Death Touch, and Haste, and it can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and the damage can't be prevented, and it deals combat damage to Planeswalkers for 4, and it's a 4/4, and it's in green. This is crazy, and that's how I kind of felt. Obviously, this isn't like Commander material, but it is a very good card, and it kind of stinks when your opponent plays it like turn 3, and it's like, oh, well, I can't deal with this because all my creatures are power 2 or less, and it has haste and death touch and vigilance, and it's killing my commander, or killing my planeswalkers, and it's just a very crazy card that does a lot for a little. It's not super unique, it's just they slammed a whole bunch of things on a card, but they were good things, so it is expensive. Next, we have Assassin's Trophy. Now, this has a giant rise in popularity due to Field of the Dead and its shenanigans, because this thing can target that and turn it basically into a basic land. However, it can only be run in black-green. It is a rare. This is the most expensive rare on the list. And yeah, this card is very useful. It was the biggest and most expensive card in the set for a while, and then it got overtaken, but it is a very powerful card, being able to 4/2 at instant speed destroy target permanent. Of course, its opponent does get to search their library, but for a basic land, but oftentimes this outweighs it, and it sees play in a lot of Vital decks. Next, we have Hydroid Crisis. It's a blue-green X Jelly Hydra Beast, and when it enters the battlefield, you gain half X life and draw half X cards, round down each time, and then it has Flying and Trample and enters the battlefield with X +1/+1 counters on it. This card is just amazing. No matter where you are in the game, this card can be useful. Unless you're at 3 mana, then kind of a dud. It's a 1/1 for 3. But it gains you life. If you're paying at least 2, it replaces itself in his hand, and generally this goes in like a rampy deck, where you can just pay X equals, I don't know, 12, which I have done before, and boom, you just drew 6 cards, gained 6 life, have a 12/12 Flying Trample, and it's crazy. And it goes in an Oko deck, which is also crazy. Now, speaking of an Oko deck in blue-green, why don't we take a look at Oko? He commands a price of $35.84. He's a 3-cost for a loyalty Planeswalker Oko. Create a food for +2/+1. Target artifact or creature becomes a 3/3 forever. And then -5, you can exchange control of target artifact or creature you control, and target creature an opponent controls with power 3 or less. So this card is crazy. It is the Scourge of Standard, but not really. You know what actually is the Scourge of Standard? That is Field of the Dead. Now, you might be wondering, where does Field of the Dead fit on this list? Well, it actually didn't make the list, which really surprised me. I'm sure a lot of you guys were expecting me to be like, aha, actually, number 1 is Field of the Dead, because it's seeing a lot of play. However, it commands a smaller price tag, only about $3.75, and that could be because it's very obvious it's going to get banned, and I might do a video about that as well, but it's clearly not doing well, it is doing well in the meta, but the price for some reason isn't spiking. That could be because people are selling it off because they're like, oh, it's about to get banned. So yeah, that's it for this video. Now I want to take a look at how many blue-green cards there are in here to see how blue-green the meta is, because I just thought of that. We have Oko, so it's 1, 2, 3, I'm going to count this because it fits in those colors, 4, I guess it's only 4, but it fell 4 out of 10, and saying that there's 10 color combinations, that's kind of crazy, especially saying things like, to Fury Time Raveler, go in a slightly varied version of that deck with white added, so blue-green is running rampant, it has some of the most powerful cards, and yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you found it informative, if you enjoyed it, you were entertained, or anything, really, please hit that like button. It means a lot. It gets this recommended to more people and encourages me to do more videos like this. And leave a comment down below. I would love to know all your thoughts on the current state of the meta, cards you think should be more expensive, or cards you think are overrated. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!